So just because the year is half over doesn't mean there ain't nothing to look forward to here in 2024 when it comes to mobile gaming. So let's start this list off with Sword of K Valaria, just coming out in a couple of days. This is a brand new grid-based strategy, turn-based RPG with pixel graphics and a very strong political backdrop. If you were a fan of like Final Fantasy Tactics, this might be right up your alley. Speaking of Final Fantasy, one of the composers of Final Fantasy is doing the soundtrack on this one, so definitely looking forward to that. And beyond that grid-based combat, you can also look forward to base building and town management. Next up is Disney Pixel RPG, coming out on September the 9th. I think the name of the game basically tells you everything you need to know, right? It's Disney characters, it's Pixar characters, and an autoplay idle RPG. Now, personally, I was hoping there was a little bit more to this game, but even going to the main website, the only thing it talks about is the characters, the story, and a dispatch mode, which is like, dude, you bragging about a dispatch mode in 2024? So yes, I'm definitely gonna be playing this, but I don't really expect much outside of the allure of using Disney characters. Once Human Mobile is gonna be arriving on September 26th, do keep in mind that this game is completely cross-platform. I recently covered the PC version, had a ton of fun with it, and if you never heard of this game and you ain't gonna go back and watch my video, it's basically a survival crafty game with a supernatural flair. So far, it's doing extremely well on Steam, maintaining a very high player base. And when this game finally launches on mobile, I expect that trend to continue because the game itself, the controls aren't really that complicated for a mobile screen. So being able to kick back on your couch or in bed, getting your survival crafted on, blasting a few zombies in the face, I think is gonna be a really good time on mobile. And that's just gonna make this franchise even more popular. Duet Night Abyss is still scheduled to come out in the second half of 2024. So this is a game that I've spent an extended amount of time with. In the last beta, I did everything you could possibly do in the beta. And based off that gameplay, I can tell you that I really enjoyed the characters, the world, the overall backdrop and vibe. But the entire time I was playing that beta, I gotta say the biggest opportunity, I'm using corporate speak, the biggest opportunity that Duet Night Abyss has is its combat system. It's not bad, it just doesn't have that oomph, right? Like when I was doing attacks and combos, I just didn't really feel that viscerality that I'm looking for in combat. But beta was a while back, the game still isn't out yet, so there's plenty of time to clean that up. Magi Excedrin. So this game still doesn't have a locked-in release date, but considering that this is gonna be a worldwide, global, simultaneous release, I think they have a pretty good chance of hitting their 2024 deadline. But on that note, since the entire world is gonna be experiencing this game for the very first time when it comes out, I don't really know a lot about this one, but the couple of things I do know is that this is gonna be an all-new story and there's gonna be unique characters as well, which is fantastic to hear because I always have an issue with IP-based hero collectors because eventually you're gonna run out of characters. So I'm glad to know that they have the rights and the ability to create fresh new characters to keep this game going if it proves to be successful. Another game, believe it or not, that is still on the docket to be released here in 2024 is a game called Chaos Zero Nightmare. If you haven't heard of this game, it's brought to you by Super Creative. You might know them as the same exact team that brought you Epic 7. This game is not gonna go the outer plane route, you know, Epic 7 but 3D. This game is still going to be high quality 2D sprites. But this time around, when it comes to the overall gameplay, they're gonna lean a little bit more heavy on the roguelite side, which I'm a big fan of. We'll see how it works out. In this game, just like Madoka Magica, since they're aiming for a worldwide simultaneous global release, I think odds are that this game might actually make it out this year. 7 Deadly Sins has a new idle game coming out, I'm thinking right around October. Now, I don't expect much from 7 Deadly Sins idle since Netmarble already has 2 idle games on the market. They have a 7 Nights idle game, and they also have a Tower of God idle game. I assume that the 7 Deadly Sins idle game is gonna take bits and pieces from both of those franchises, slap them together, put Meliodas on it, and call it a day. But to tell you real talk, that's a compelling enough reason for me to at least download the game and give it a shot. Cat Fantasy, no specific locked-in release date, but absolutely coming out here in 2024. If you were on the lookout for like a kitty cat, cyberpunk-inspired, turn-based RPG extravaganza, Cat Fantasy just might be for you. Now this game is going to be brought to you by Elix. They have been around for a very long time. They put out a game a few years ago called Food Fantasy that you might be familiar with. And if you've been playing mobile games for a very, very long time, this is the company behind Magic Rush Heroes. Yeah, dude, talk about a way back. Goddess Order also has a tentative second half 2024 release date. Now this game is brought to you by the same exact team that brought you Crusaders Quest, which is a game that I've played off and on throughout the years, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with a new fresh IP. Now there's not a ton to say about this game just yet, but as far as I can see, they're just sticking to their roots, baby. And basically what this company does best is high quality 2D pixel art, and this time around they're gonna take that art and throw it on top of a side-scrolling action RPG. So next up is a game called Ash Echoes. Now, once again, I don't have a firm locked in release date, but I'm pretty sure that this game will make its 2024 estimation. Now, this game is a little iffy for me. Yeah, it looks good, but it's brought to you by Neocraft. And if you don't know anything about Neocraft, they are very hit or miss, right? They put out some really good games like Kimono Friends Kingdom, Cyber Rebellion, which was a pretty decent game, but quite bloaty and a bit tedious the longer you play it. And Tales of Wind, which, you know, if you go back 4 or 5 years, was not too bad of an autoplay MMO. But outside of that, they have a slew of misses, in my opinion. Just basically a bunch of copy-paste, auto-path, auto-quest, auto-grind, you know what I'm talking about, auto-play mobile MMOs. Now, those 10 games that I just mentioned either have a confirmed locked-in release date or are slated to release in 2024. These next games I'm gonna mention, I wouldn't be surprised if they came out in 2024, but they're more likely gonna come out in early 2025. So Girls Frontline 2, there's a ton of behind-the-scenes action going on. They got a brand new global website, an X account, but I still don't think that this one's gonna make its 2024 debut. I think it's more likely 2025. Next up is Tribe 9. Now this one just might make it to 2024. They just announced that they're gonna be doing another beta in August that I will be taking part in, and I will be showing you some coverage when I can. But depending on how that beta plays and how it's shaping up, that's really gonna dictate if it's gonna make it this year or next year. Project Mugen's on my list, but there is absolutely no way that this is gonna make a 2024 release. I think this is more likely like a mid-2025, late 2025 type of a release, especially considering how good Neverness to Everness looks and how far along it looks. I think the Project Mugen team is like, hey, maybe we need to pump our brakes a little bit, you know, work on our game a little bit more, come out later. Grand Saga, just like Girls Frontline 2, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on with the community and the social media accounts, etc., etc. But once again, no locked in 2024 date. But if we don't hear something a little bit more firm coming like this fall, I think this is definitely gonna be another 2025 game. Persona 5, The Phantom X. Now, Sega has already come out and said that they do want to release this game in more regions and eventually come to console. So I think a global launch is locked, but in 2024, there's no chance. Absolutely another 2025. Etheria Restart is still slated for a 2024 release, but considering that we have seen absolutely nothing about this game outside of that really impressive first trailer, I gotta admit, but we haven't heard anything since then. I think, once again, kind of like Project Mugen, if you want to compete in this new generation of very high quality open world or quasi open world mobile games, you gotta bring your A game. You can't just come out and like try to get your Higgin on in the face of Honkai Star Rail, you know what I'm saying? That's a recipe for disaster. So hopefully this game, once again, pushes itself back a little bit, takes a look at what's going on in the industry, and then try to reassess its game, maybe reassess its features, then come out a little bit stronger. Uma Musume, I wouldn't be surprised if this one comes out in 2024, late 2024, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it came out in 2025. Riveting analysis, FG. You're welcome. That's what I do here. And then lastly, Heaven Burns Red. This is the newest game brought to you by WFS. It came out in 2022 in Japan and is doing absolutely fantastic. We already know that Yostar is going to be handling the publishing of this game once it finally comes global. When that is, I'm not exactly sure. Now, this game just coming to global is just the first step. I also kind of wonder, will this game actually do well with a global audience? Now, if you don't know about this game, this is a very dialogue-heavy, multiple choice dialogue option narrative experience. So how well that's going to do in the global audience, I think it still remains to be seen, but I don't think we're going to see that in 2024, most likely 2025.